Hello, welcome to another episode of Inside the Huddle. Today is Saturday, September 6th. Hopefully, everybody's having a good day so far today. This is episode 76 of the Inside the Huddle podcast. We made it less than 24 hours away from week 1 o'clock slate, 4 o'clock slate, and then, of course, Sunday night matchup tomorrow night, Ravens and the Bills. We've already got two games under our belt with the Cowboys Eagles on Thursday and then the Chargers and the Chiefs last night in Brazil. Full slate today of college football. Whenever you are listening to this, football's back. Super exciting. DiMari, a couple days ago, we were here talking about season preview. Today, we're here. A couple days later, previewing week number 1. How's it going, man?
I'm good. It feels good that we are back. And luckily for us, Thursday and Friday both were some pretty interesting games. Maybe two games with four teams that we could be talking about has a lot to do with playoff, potential, playoff implications. Maybe these four teams meet in the playoffs. Obviously, being division rivals, we're going to get to see each of these teams down the line. But yeah, Thursday and Friday kicked us off pretty well. And like you said, one more sleep, and we will be, ramping up to 1 o'clock football. So I cannot wait.
Yeah, it's exciting. Fired up for week number 1, fired up for another season here in the NFL. And that's where we will start. We'll break down some of the big matchups on Sunday, but we do start here with the two games that already took place. We'll go in order. Start on Thursday night, season opener, banner ceremony night for the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Cowboys lose this one 24-20. But before we get into, the Cowboys, the Eagles, the performance, just a wild start. You had an injury on the opening kickoff. You then had the Jalen Carter spitting incident. He gets ejected. He's out of the game. The NFL has made it clear that they are kind of cracking down on the unsportsmanlike penalties and unsportsmanlike actions this season. Before we actually get into the game, what was just your thoughts on that kind of turn of events early on, that the script writers were kind of all over the place with that one? It was another one of them examples of why the NFL is king. I don't think anybody sat down on their couch or wherever you were to watch that game on Thursday night and expected that to be the sequence of events before we even got a snap off in the 2025 season. But that's what happened. What was your thoughts just on that whole situation?
Respectfully, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, Jalen Carter is I'm not a fan of Jalen Carter, like his character in general, very sensitive subject to bring back up, but we know about the incident of him at Georgia that involved, the teammates and kind of how that went down. So I've never been a fan of Jalen Carter but to spit on somebody is crazy. A grown man spit on another grown man is crazy. And after you watch the tape, you see that, and I don't know how much people pay attention, but Dak probably spits 200 times a game. That's just something he's always done. That is what he does. So it looked as if he was spitting at Jalen Carter, which he wasn't. He was spitting on the ground. Jalen Carter decides to go the extra mile and spit on him. Absolutely disgusting. I hope he sees a fine. I hope he sees a suspension, because there's just no place for that in football. But after that all went down, I thought for sure Dak was throwing for 500 yards and they were going to lose that game, which how the first few drives started, that's how it looked like. It was a great potential. But yeah, once again, I mean, no place like that in football whatsoever. And, one side of me wants to say, well, that's Philly for you. That's Philly players for you. That's the Philly fan base. It all makes sense. But, yeah, it kind of sucked to see that he didn't even get to play a snap. He is a great player, but, like, you got to be smarter than that, especially to start the season off.
Yeah, it's a disgusting act, not just the action itself, plus just spitting on somebody else. Just there's no place for that on any sport, any time, in sports, out of sports. There's no place for that. And yeah, the whole Dak thing I found so just dumb, because even if he was, let's say, spitting in his direction, there was a 5 yards to like 6 yard gap between the two of them. I mean, Dak was separated by his two offensive linemen. Jalen Carter was on the other side of the line of scrimmage. He wasn't even close to him in terms of, this is going to sound weird, but like the trajectory of the spit, if that makes sense. Like Jalen Carter was right on top of him and clearly intentionally spit on him. So the whole Dak thing of, oh, he started, he spit, it wasn't even close. And I don't think it was intentional, but either way it went straight to the ground, and it wasn't like he was aiming in his direction. And you are right. He said in the press conference post game that he spits, 100, 200 times a game. It was a big loss for the Eagles to lose a guy like Jalen Carter rather, on the first play of the game, before the first play of the game even happened. And from the Cowboys' perspective, you could really tell when the run game opened up. What was your thoughts on the Cowboys' run game? Do you feel it was a product of Jalen Carter not being in there, a little bit of both, or do you feel it is, maybe they have something with Javonte Williams, who had kind of a hot start, maybe a little bit of as the game went on, they figured him out a bit. Miles Sanders, outside the fumble, had a couple, had really the big 49-yard run, then had the fumble, which hurt, but Javonte Williams found the end zone twice as a team. They averaged over 5 yards a carry. What was your thoughts on the run game for them?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, obviously, Jalen Carter being there to plug up the middle would have made the game look a little different, especially in the aspect of running the ball. But for Dallas' sake, I mean, Clayton Adams comes over from Arizona. If you know his time in Arizona, James Conner has looked amazing. Trey Benson behind James Conner the last 2 years have looked amazing in the Clay Adams offense that has been top 10 in terms of rushing. So I was just surprised because of how well Philly defense looked last year and how bad we ran the ball. But I think it was a little bit of Carter, and I think we also might have found something in Javonte Williams. And, we have said this so many times during the offseason, just about different guys in different places. Sometimes it's just that change of scenery. So maybe Javonte Williams, in this case, this change of scenery, this, chance to kind of reintroduce himself to the NFL, I think was a huge deal. Obviously, we're going to do that on opening night against a divisional opponent with such a good run defense, or at least what we thought was a good run defense, was such a big deal. But I would love to see it continue as the season moves forward. And like you said, he kind of cooled down later on throughout the game, but I think with 15 carries for 56 yards, 2 touchdowns, from what we saw last year from the Cowboys' perspective as a run game, that's a win. He doesn't need to touch 100. That's a win. It shows some type of balance. I love what I saw from Javonte Williams. Love what I saw from Miles Sanders up until that fumble, which changed the game, to be honest. But it was quite a relief not seeing Dak drop back, throw the ball 40 times. So hopefully those two can keep it up, because I was honestly kind of shocked, but also proud at the same time to see how well they finally found balance in that offense.
Yeah, it was a much more, like you said, balanced attack. I mean, last year the run game was a non-factor, and going into the season, you had a lot of people low expectations for what the run game can do, but they controlled the game early on when it came to keeping it on the ground. Yeah, Philly's defense, it was an off night for sure. The whole weather delay, the second half in general, things started to slow down offensively. But I think the two teams only had 3 points combined. It was the field goal from Philly in the third. Outside of that, the Cowboys shut out in the second half. So there wasn't much offense. So the defenses did tighten up a bit. But Philly as a whole, this is interesting coming out of this game. They win the game, they take care of business. But I do think, from the Cowboys fan perspective, from the Cowboys themselves, they've still got to be very, optimistic with the way this game went. I think a lot of people expected this to be more of a blowout and kind of more of a no-show from Dallas, as opposed to keeping it a tight game where you saw some good things from the offense. Just what was your thoughts on Philly and the way they looked? And we saw this a couple times from them during the Super Bowl run in the playoffs. They don't look great, but they squeak out the win anyway, right? Defense struggled. A.J. Brown didn't have a target until that fourth quarter last drive. Jahan Dotson was their leading receiver. That's not crazy encouraging from that perspective. But the run game, Jalen Hurts finding the end zone, Barkley as well. That's what's fueled this team, and that's what fueled them last year.
Did you say A.J. Brown? I didn't know he played up until that one catch. For Philly's sake, you don't want to overreact. Obviously, it's week one, but it kind of does make you nervous because the Super Bowl hangover is a big thing everyone talks about every year going into week one, how these teams look after that Super Bowl. So you get a little bit concerned. You get concerned because A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, like you just mentioned, wasn't involved, whatsoever. Saquon actually didn't play great either. 15 carries, I believe, 60 yards. So from the terms of Saquon, what we saw last year, Saquon didn't look great. Jalen Hurts looked great as a rusher. He did not look great as a passer. So it kind of makes you concerned defensively. They didn't look too hot either. I mean, like I kind of mentioned just before, at a point of that game, Dak and Dallas was moving the ball up and down the field with no problems whatsoever. It looked like they were going to probably score 50 points before that rain delay happened. And, the offense kind of slowed down. So from the offensive and defensive side for Philly, you get a big concern. But that is what championship teams do. They find ways to win those one possession games. They find ways to gut out those, wins where you don't look the best. And against an opponent like Dallas, who has played you so tough the last few years, when obviously Hurts and Prescott are both playing, for a team to come out, gut out that win, no A.J. Brown, no Devontae Smith in terms of production. Saquon didn't look great. The defense didn't look great. You got to pat them on the back. You got to pat, I hate to say it, you got to pat Nick Sirianni on the back because they found a way to win that game, and that's what good teams do.
Yeah, they found a way. Exactly. You're right. And I think, too, just from Dallas's perspective, late in that game, kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit with the Miles Sanders fumble. And then you had the CeeDee Lamb drops. I mean, Dak from that area deserved a lot better. He deserved to win this game. He deserved to probably have, 90 maybe more yards from a passing perspective and 3 to 4 more completions and probably a passing touchdown and a win next to this one. CeeDee Lamb early on, he got he had like over 80 yards very, very early. And I know somebody I know
in the first quarter.
Yeah. I think the over under, I think was like 80 and he had 71. Yeah.
71 and a half. He had 76 in the first.
Yeah. It was, I mean, the first completion, I believe, was the one right down the sideline where he almost scored on it, got inside the 10. Late in the game, though, the drops were just killer. Dallas, I think, bounces back. I think this was an encouraging start. If Dak Prescott's healthy, this team's going to win games. The biggest thing is more of generating a pass rush, and that's, I guess, how moving forward, what did you see from that pass rush, in your opinion?
Not enough. Yeah. If we're being honest, not enough. And, trying to take some things into consideration, like DeMarvion Overshown, obviously still not back on the field yet. It's going to look a little different when he's there. The other guys, it's week one. Again, it's week one. You don't want to panic. Our rookie, again, I can't pronounce his name too well, but he was getting back there. Dante Fowler, they were getting back there. It's just you have to complete it. And I mean, I know we both know Jalen Hurts is a big, strong guy, an athlete, but, if you are going to get there 3-4 times a game, which is not enough in a full 60-minute game, you have to be able to make a tackle. So the big thing for them was the few times that they were back there, they couldn't get the job done. But I still don't think it's going to, be enough. You need more of a pass rush. And again, linebackers are missing. D-line didn't look too great. It's week one. No need to panic quite yet. But with that pass rush, I don't think they win a lot of games. And I say this, hear me out, because secondary can only cover for so long. I know the secondary did great Thursday night, but you can't ask them to do that for 17 games. It's impossible.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll say this. Trayvon Diggs on that blitz, he should have had Hurts. He ran kind of right by him. There was a couple missed tackles, not from Diggs, but just the team as a whole. Mm-hmm. And a couple of times where you knew Hurts was running and there was nobody there. Like put a quarterback spy on him. I always, defenses don't do enough of that. So Cowboys lose this one, Eagles win. See what happens next week. Cowboys against the Giants. That is a softer landing spot, home opener, extended break here. See what kind of Giants team you get coming out. The Commanders, and from Philly's perspective, they go to Kansas City, which is a perfect segue into last night's game in Brazil. Chiefs-Chargers. Chiefs fall in this one. We were both correct, actually. I think we both nailed our Thursday and Friday picks, had Chargers, Eagles winning. Chargers win this one 27-20. I'll be honest, just my general takeaway, the Chargers completely outcoached. They were the ready team. Jim Harbaugh put on masterclass last night in front of Kansas City. What was your thoughts on this one?
Outside of pure hate watch for Kansas City, first name that I am going to point out is Amarion Hampton. He looked great last night. And I know the box score is not going to show it in terms of yards and how much he rushed for, but just we haven't seen that. J.K. Dobbins did give us that last year, but you're not really used to a Chargers team with great explosive runners, downhill like speed, and that's what Hampton gave us. And I loved it. I loved it from the rookie. Obviously, I think we were both pretty high on him coming out of North Carolina last year, and he got a chance to shine against a Kansas City defense that actually was great. I mean, last time we see that Chiefs defense, they had Saquon and pretty much kind of in check. Not really. I know Philly still won that game, but I don't think Saquon had that big of a game like we thought he would have had. But love what I've seen from Hampton. He played great, but overall for the Chargers, I mean, that was a big win. That was a huge win to open up against the divisional opponent, and Kansas City's sake of it, for them to not look as good as we thought they possibly would look. And I know Worthy being injured and leaving the game early played a big part of it. But for Kansas City to not look good up until the second half and still keep that game as close as they did, I think it says a lot about Mahomes, who showed a lot last night. But yeah, for the Chargers, can't believe I'm about to say this. Justin Herbert gave my respect last night. Yeah. He did.
Yeah. He was awesome. 300 plus, 3 touchdowns, spread the ball around, got multiple different guys involved. I mean, Quentin Johnson, Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen turning back the clock a bit. Big night for him with the touchdown and the 68 receiving yards. Quentin Johnson with the 2 touchdowns. Tyler Conklin with the two catches, the 1 for 33 yards. They had Tyler Conklin actually take a carry as well. Nathaniel Hackett, cough, Jets, take notes there. The Chargers just look so much better. And I don't want to, and I know the Xavier Worthy injury, the collision with Kelsey, that certainly hurt, but I don't want to be that week 1 overreactor. But after watching this game, I know I could comfortably say, and this might come back to bite me, but as we sit here on September 6th, I can comfortably say the Chiefs are not winning this division. The Chargers last night, a lot higher on my list today than they were going into the year. I thought the Chargers would be the 3rd place team in this division, still make the playoffs, but Chiefs finish in front of them. Watching the Chargers last night, you mentioned Herbert. We're both kind of in the same boat with Herbert. Watching him go out there and completely outplay Patrick Mahomes in that Chiefs offense, plus what I feel and you feel Denver can do this year, Sean Payton, Bo Nix, that offense, plus arguably the best defense in football. Is it crazy to say the Chiefs might be a 3rd place team this season?
No, not at all. 10-7. 10-7. Chargers already got one up on them. I think Chargers also go, 10-7. But we said this going into last year, and again, this is going to kind of contradict what I was saying about Philly and just being able to win those 1-score games, those gutsy wins. The Chiefs got away with that a lot last year. I don't think it's happening this year at all.
It's weird with the Chiefs. I don't want to be the voodoo magic, like the refs helped them type of guy, but the close wins with Philly and those type of teams, it feels different than the close wins with the Chiefs. And I guess the way I put it is, like, the Chiefs won some of those games last year on kind of fluky stuff. I mean, they had the blocked chip shot field goal against the Broncos. I mean, like that, you give them credit, but the chances of a blocked field goal in that spot, any other team in the NFL, that doesn't happen. I'm sorry. If you line the Chargers, the Raiders, the Broncos, any other team, and the Broncos were, the victims of it, but you line any other team in the NFL on the kicking or the special teams, kick block unit, whatever, they're not blocking that kick. But the Chiefs and they just, luck's on their side. I mean, even the Raiders game, what was it with the Aiden O'Connell? Was it the fumble snap? I think it was.
Yep.
I mean, come on. What are the chances of a quarterback against any other team fumbling the snap in that situation late in the game? I guess it's Aiden O'Connell, so that shouldn't come as much of a surprise. Not that I want to just sit here and bash Aiden O'Connell, but they won on a lot of luck, I guess, if you will. It wasn't like many late drives going down the field, 80 yards with a minute and a half left and a timeout. A lot of it was the other team hurting themselves or a kick, a kick block, like what, and when they faced they had the game against the Bills, that was a close game. They lost that one on the road. Some of these other games, they were able to kind of escape. So yeah, you erased the one score. You erased just 3 of those 4 of those 1-score wins, and you put them in the loss column this year. You're looking at 10-17 potentially. All right, let's move on here to Sunday's slate. A couple good games here that we'll break down. We'll start with the NFC North. Lions, Packers, Micah Parsons debut, the premier Jim Nantz, Tony Romo game here on CBS. This is going to be an awesome one. These 2 battles this year, when they flip on over to Detroit, will be an excellent game. You're looking at really the 2 teams that I think everybody expects fighting for this division and potentially fighting for one of these top spots in the NFC right out of the gate. Awesome matchup. What are your just general thoughts heading into this one?
It's going to be interesting. This is going to be a good one. You kind of get a different look at Detroit. Obviously, with the coordinators gone, I think that's what stands out to me the most. I want to see how this offense is going to look. I want to know if Jared Goff is, finally has put it together, or was he kind of more of a product of Ben Johnson? What Ben Johnson did, kind of how we talked about with O'Connell and Sam Darnold last episode. So I'm kind of curious what Jared Goff is going to give us. Obviously, all the hype is going to be around Micah and his debut and what he's going to do. So, that's kind of where I am focusing most on is this Detroit offense. Are they good enough to get back? We both don't think they're going to be a 15-win team like they were last year, but coordinator's gone, kind of a whole new look offensively. How good will Detroit actually be kind of in the spotlight, you would say? And for Green Bay's sake, again, Parsons, I'm obviously looking out for Matthew Golden as well, the rookie they got for Texas. That probably should have went to Dallas. I know week 4, that's going to come back to hurt us. Golden is going to kill us. But Jordan Love's another one. I feel like this is kind of another year to step up, big contract. It's Jordan Love. It's time. Like, it's time to show why you are a, top 10, how some may say top 8, whatever the case is. I don't think neither one of us has been too high on Love yet this far. I think this is the time to prove it, and this is a good spot for him to do it.
I'm not high on Love, and yet I somehow ended up with him in fantasy football. That should tell you all you need to know about me as a fantasy manager. But I'm really glad you kind of brought up the perception on the Lions and the coordinators, and I think that's what makes this game so interesting is the perception on these 2 teams is totally opposite. You have a Lions team that we've talked about this a lot during the offseason. For the first time in the Dan Campbell era, they're kind of being counted out a bit. They're not the Super Bowl favorite. They're not the preseason darling. A lot of people are doubting them. And then from the Packers' perspective, since the Micah Parsons trade, the amount of Super Bowl or Packers Super Bowl picks that I've seen online from people on, all these talk shows, people, analysts, has completely skyrocketed. And the amount of people taking Green Bay to win the division has skyrocketed. So that's what's really interesting. You have a Lions team that on the outside, a lot of people are doubting a little bit, and in a Packers team that's hearing a lot of noise in a good way where, okay, they have an elite pass rusher now for the people that believe in Jordan Love, that he can take the next step and put himself inside, like you said, that top 10, top 8 category and take this team very far. Plus, Matt LaFleur and this coaching staff and what they're capable of doing. So that makes it really interesting. The receiving core, like you mentioned, Matthew Golden, you have Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed as well. I'm expecting a big year from Jahmyr Gibbs again. I think I had him, the offensive player of the year.
Yeah.
I really think that Detroit, I still think Detroit's going to win this division. I really think that Detroit's going to come out in this game and feel a little bit of that noise of people doubting them, kind of rally a bit and play really well. And I just don't trust Jordan Love at all. I don't. And we both don't. That's the biggest question with Green Bay is, do you really, at the end of the day, is Jordan Love really going to go out there and outduel Jared Goff? I just don't see it. maybe he does because you have Micah Parsons, and if he makes Jared Goff's life miserable, but I guess what are your thoughts on just Love and I guess where he stands right now? I mean, do you see much room for growth? I think he's kind of what he is. He's overrated in many aspects. I'll say it. Yeah.
I'll say I'm right on board. Overrated is definitely a way to describe it. But the side of it where I kind of want to give him some props is you look at the receivers, you look at the names and what he's working with, and for what he has accomplished from what he's working with. You kind of want to give him more respect for what he has done. But then again, I'm going to call it like it is. You got paid off of beating a walkover Dallas team, which doesn't look so great in the long run, considering, hey, they suck every year in the playoffs. But your payday came off of a Dallas team that doesn't ever show up in, come playoff time. And since then, you really haven't done too much. Like, obviously, they're making the playoffs, which is great. But besides this year, when Jordan Love took over as quarterback, do you ever come into a year and say, yeah, you know what? I think Green Bay has a good shot at winning the Super Bowl this year. Not at all. Wild card exit. That's what you expect.
Yeah, you expect kind of that 9 to 10 win team that's going to squeak in, maybe make, have an upset, which is what, they did in 2023, almost upset San Fran. I'd argue this, though, from the receiving perspective, for the amount Jordan Love's being paid and the amount that some people hype him up, great quarterbacks elevate the players around him. I mean, just look at Josh Allen. We'll get to that matchup here in a second. How many of us last year counted out the Bills because of their receivers? And then we saw Josh Allen last year go out there and win an MVP with Khalil Shakir, a rookie in Keon Coleman, Mac Hollins, and Curtis Samuel, I think, as well. This year, Bills should be a team competing for a Super Bowl again. And you look at their receiving core, and I'll put some respect. I mean, Shakir is good, but he's not. Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir are not Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, right, in Cincy. So, the point is he's able to elevate those guys. He's got Josh Palmer this year. I mean, heck, Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore's been an afterthought. He's on that team, and he's going to play a role, right? So he's able to elevate. If Love wants to be that elite quarterback, he's got to elevate some of the guys around him. And you just haven't really seen that. And I also just still look at this Detroit team, and I get the concerns. And maybe it's because I really, really like Dan Campbell, and Detroit's a team that I, will certainly have enjoyed to see kind of their rise up. I have a lot of respect for, the fan base and what they've gone through. Can definitely relate to that and how they've been able to turn it around. But I still look at this matchup and just going down the list. They've got the better quarterback. They've got the better running back. They've got the better receiving core, the better tight end. Sure, you want to question, the coaches and offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, how that all looks. Fine. I still think the Lions, though, are a game or two better than Green Bay, and I like them tomorrow.
Oh, so we're picking, okay. All right. I want to be on board with that. I think I'm on board. I think I want to be on board with that. I feel like there's going to be so much hype around, again, Parsons this, Parsons that. And I like Detroit. I'm going to go with the Lions with you.
Yeah. All right. Now moving on here to Baltimore and Buffalo. Sunday night under the lights of Highmark Stadium last season inside that stadium before the Bills make a change next year. Rematch of the AFC divisional round. Lamar, Josh Allen, 2 MVP candidates again going into this season. What are your initial thoughts going into this one? This is about as good as it gets for a week 1 Sunday night primetime matchup between 2 elite quarterbacks and just 2 elite teams.
I don't think there's much to say on this one. There's really not. Obviously, the hype is around this one, but these are 2 teams you kind of know what you're going to get. Obviously, Josh Allen trying to protect his MVP from last year, try to do it again. Obviously, Lamar has won some MVPs, so you know what you're going to get from both quarterbacks. No surprise. You know what you're going to get from Derrick Henry. So it's no surprises whatsoever on either side. Only thing that I do want to see from Buffalo necessarily, and I guess you can say this Buffalo team, can we see kind of a resurgence of Joey Bosa, who I feel like has kind of become an afterthought after such a great time in with the Chargers. Obviously, comes over to Buffalo. How much of an impact will Joey Bosa have for this team? And we have talked about it with Buffalo. Kind of getting ahead of myself here. Every time it comes to playoff time, they face Patrick Mahomes. Who can be a difference maker? Who can be that piece to finally put Buffalo over top? And I want to see if Joey Bosa can finally be that piece for them this year to finally get over it and, make it to the Super Bowl. And I honestly think this is going to be kind of a hot take here, but if Buffalo cannot get it done, can't get to the Super Bowl this year, you might start to look at McDermott and say, hey, either figure it out or we're going to have to move a new direction.
Yeah, and that's a great point. That's kind of, it feels like the last thing the Bills can do if they fall short again this year, especially if it's to Baltimore or let's say Denver and it's not to Kansas City, where Kansas City has a down year. Who knows? Maybe the Bills beat Kansas City this time and then they fall short against another team. That's the last thing you really can do is fire the coach and hope for something different. I don't know if that'll work necessarily, but from the fans' perspective, from the organization, Insanity's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So you kind of, McDermott's interesting where every year his seat's kind of a little warm, and it's going to get warmer every single year that they don't just forget winning the Super Bowl, just getting to the Super Bowl, being the team out of the AFC. And losing in the AFC title game year after year after year. I think there's a good chance, and maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm just too excited for football season and I'm throwing out all these irrational takes, but there's a good chance this is your AFC title game preview. If the Chiefs are not who we think they are, and I think the Broncos are going to be a very good team, but if the Chiefs are struggling, I think the Ravens are going to the Super Bowl. I think this is finally their year to break through. This is potentially your title game preview, which will be interesting because the Ravens last year destroyed the Bills in the regular season, and then the Bills got them in the postseason. So we'll see kind of how that all plays out. You think either of these quarterbacks are the MVP, or you think it's somebody different? I think we did predict this, and I forget who we had at the MVP.
Joe Burrow.
Was that both of us?
So yeah, that was both, which is kind of crazy considering that I also think this is the AFC Championship game here. Obviously, I have Buffalo going to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
You have Baltimore. Kind of crazy. We think, Burrow is the one that won the MVP this year, but not even going to get too much onto Cincinnati. I just think these two teams are so much built better than Cincinnati is in terms of, a long-term push. Cincinnati's so top-heavy with a few players. So, I think I'm on board. I think this is the preview for the AFC Championship, but for long year of football, but 0-1 for either one of these teams, it's going to be brutal.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And it's going to be interesting with Baltimore just in this game because their last couple of years have started out slow. I mean, they lost to the Raiders last season at home. That's crazy to think early on since he started out slow. So tomorrow night, does Baltimore have one of those slow starts? Since he as well, do they start slow again? Because those are two things that these two teams have struggled with. Since he didn't rebound, Baltimore was able to rebound. But yeah, I think the big difference is Cincy's defense is still such a concern. Trey Hendrickson, I know he's back, but even with him, it's such a concern because it's the secondary, and I trust the Ravens defense a lot more than Cincy, and same goes from Buffalo's perspective. And I think you make a great point about Joey Bosa, and just in general, that is another thing that you can look for. Buffalo's got a very complete roster. They've got the elite quarterback. The one thing that you could say with Buffalo that they've lacked is a true game-changing pass rusher. And that's why when the Myles Garrett stuff came out, even Micah Parsons, the Bills, every time an edge rusher could be available, the Bills have been thrown out there, because that's the one thing that could change a game where you have an edge rusher just take over in one of these playoff games, and that separates you and gets the job done finally. So Bosa, yeah, it's a big season. Can he even just get back to like the 2021 Bosa, a couple years ago, where he was, 10.5 sack, maybe not so much the early Bosa where, first couple of seasons back 2016, 2017, when he was just selected third overall out of Ohio State. But can you get the Bosa from a couple years ago? It's a big factor with Buffalo. I'll throw this out there. There's another mobile quarterback that's hoping to get to the AFC title game, and that's Justin Fields and the New York Jets. How does that sound? That's not happening. But we'll move on here to the Jets Steelers, another AFC showdown. AFC North, Steelers on the road, Rodgers, Fields storyline. Two quarterbacks flip teams. You had the Aaron Glenn, Aaron Rodgers meeting that, in the words of Aaron Rodgers, went 45 seconds, and he was upset that he flew across the country on his own dime, because just like the rest of us, we have the ability to just hop in a private jet and fly across the country. So we should all feel bad that Aaron Rodgers had to spend some money and fly his private jet across the country. I know it's really, real tough. What are your thoughts on this one? I mean, I think, and maybe this is just me being optimistic, seasons here, I do think the Jets have a chance in this game. This is a big game, though, on a lot of levels. From Pittsburgh's perspective, you want to get off to a good start with Rodgers. You want to get off to a good start just in general. This is a team where you look at how the AFC West is going to play out. You look at the rest of the North. This is a team that's kind of fighting again, probably for one of those final playoff spots. You want to start out strong. And then from the Jets' perspective, the ultimate way to change culture is just to win football games. That's what matters most. You could say all this stuff. You could have a great training camp. That's, Glenn's pushed all the right buttons. If you don't win games, none of it matters. And the Jets' schedule, while it's not impossible, there is a very realistic path where if they lose this game, they have Buffalo next week. All of a sudden, you're 0-2. You then have Tampa after that. You could be looking at 0-3 right away. And that's a really tough spot to be in. So this is, it's week 1, but this is, in a sneaky way, I don't want to say a must win, but a very important game for the Jets to get off to a good start, beat Aaron Rodgers, and take a little bit of the pressure off of Glenn from the perspective of getting off to like a 1-5 start. So what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'm right with you in terms of, I don't think it's a must win, but I think this is a Justin Fields kind of, I don't want to call it a highlight game, but like a confident booster game. And obviously it's a long week, and I don't know the Jets full 17 off the top of my head, but you're not playing a Pittsburgh. You're not playing a team with a better defense than Pittsburgh, at least that I can think of, throughout the season. Again, I could be wrong. You know the schedule better than I do. But this is probably going to be the toughest defense that you face all year. So if Fields can go out, just with all the noise and everything that happened in Pittsburgh last year, him getting benched, Russ coming back, if Fields can go out and find a way to sneak out and win and actually play well, I feel like that's huge. And again, you just mentioned it. When you bring in a new coach, new system, you want to be off to a great start. So for Fields, for these Jets, for Aaron Glenn, I mean, it'll be great to come out with this 1-0, considering, then you do go to Buffalo and then you do go to Tampa, because, I mean, even if you win tomorrow, you lose Buffalo, it's a little different going to Tampa 1-1 than it is, 0-2. And I know it's still early in the season, but you just mentioned it when we talked about Cincinnati, how hard it is to bounce back when you fall and you slip early on in the season. So for the Jets, I mean, Justin Fields, it kind of sucks with how things went these last few years with Rodgers and the whole thing with just quarterback situation in New York, where you're kind of thrown in the fire and it's like instant success. We need to make the playoffs. We need to be good. And that's a tough spot for him to be in, but I think it's a great spot for him to be in because he can do it.
Yeah, and I just really want not just to beat, the Steelers and start out 1-0. It's not even so much just the beating Rodgers. I want to beat Rodgers. I want to destroy him tomorrow. I want to see Rodgers on the ground as much as possible. I don't know if you remember 2 years ago or 3 years ago now. It's crazy. The promising 2022 Jets, when they got off to that fast start, they were 7-4, and then they collapsed just, like they always do. Sauce Gardner in that Dolphins game blitzed Teddy Bridgewater first play. And that's what I want to see tomorrow. Like, I want to see you got to blitz, get pressure on Rodgers. Rodgers struggles against the blitz. Last year, 2 of Rodgers' worst performances came against the Vikings and the Broncos, 2 of the top blitzing teams in the NFL. This is a Jets defense that's going to blitz a lot more with Aaron Glenn, who blitzed a ton in Detroit. And when Glenn had success against Rodgers in 2022, the 2 games where they held the Packers to 12.5 points in those 2 games on average, he blitzed a ton. He played a ton of man. So I want to see that. Just get pressure on Rodgers, knock him down, get him kind of flustered. He doesn't like to be hit. It's a new offense. There's going to be rust. There's a lack of weapons outside of DK Metcalf. I am a little concerned about the tight ends, but get pressure on Rodgers. But my whole thing is I want a week of like delusion where we beat the Steelers and we all talk ourselves into them beating the Bills. And if the Bills lose to the Ravens and the Jets are 2-0 and the Bills are 0-2, I want that stretch of like delusion as a Jet fan where, we talk about the division 2 weeks in, even though we know that's not going to happen. I'm not expecting many wins this year. 7-10 is my prediction. So I would like early on here, at least 1 week of being able to talk myself into them beating a divisional opponent. But realistically, though, in all seriousness, the path for this team to be 2-2 is to beat the Steelers and beat the Dolphins. That's their path. If they don't do that, if they don't beat the Steelers tomorrow, you're asking them to split essentially against Buffalo and Tampa. That's really a hard ask for a team that is top heavy. He's got some talent, but the expectations for the Jets, it's Buffalo and Tampa are tough matchups there. So it's a big one. I don't know if you have this on your underdog or not. I personally don't. I'm not. I think the Jets can win tomorrow, but I don't like to put the Jets in my underdog picks. Who do you think wins this game?
I think it's going to be Pittsburgh. I'm so sorry. But I just think I give that advantage to the defense. For the Steelers, obviously Rodgers is going to have a point to prove, which I don't think he's going to have a great game. But I think I'm going to give that slight edge just because of that defense.
Yeah, usually I'm like the cynical Jet fan inside of me. I feel like would be telling me that Rodgers is going to go out there and throw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. But I really don't think that's going to happen. Even if the Steelers win, I don't think Rodgers is going to play great. He's struggled the last 3 week ones, minus the torn Achilles. I mean, he's 0-3 in his last 3 week ones. Plus, this is a new offense. Never worked with Arthur Smith. So I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I think it's probably going to be the lowest scoring game of the week. If
I had to take a guess, I'm thinking probably no more than like 20-16.
Yeah,
it's not going to be high scoring whatsoever.
No, I take the under. I think it's 38.5. I take the under. There's gonna be low scoring, run the football, come down to a possession or 2 late, and see what happens. Jets Steelers, another season here. We'll see what happens with Fields. I'll say this: I would like to see, and I know they're gonna run the football a ton, but take advantage of the Jalen Ramsey Garrett Wilson match, because Garrett Wilson actually had a ton of success last year against Ramsey. But I'd like to see the Jets take some deep shots, spread it vertically. The Steelers are expecting a lot of those short, quick passes plus the run game. Surprise them a bit, try and, spread the ball downfield. I would like to see that, take some chances, some calculated risks. So we'll see what happens. But Jets Steelers.
Just one more thing I kind of want to see on that too is how much are we going to see of Fields' legs? Are we going to see a lot of read option, with him and Brees? That I'm kind of curious on that because, Fields is not your traditional drop back, pocket passer type of guy. You want to get him out of the pocket, but just the ability to use his legs. And I think obviously Brees needs a pretty big year as well. His name has kind of been floating in trade rumors. Seems like forever now, but just the two of them, how much production will they have with their legs tomorrow against a very good Steelers defense.
Yeah, I expect a decent chunk of read options, Fields using his legs. I'd say Fields potentially gets a rushing touchdown tomorrow. The biggest question, right, is his arm and what that brings. All right, moving on here. Kind of two games, tie them in. Then we'll get to some underdogs and some props. Bears, Vikings, Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, the new look Bears offense, pretty much a new offensive line, and J.J. McCarthy on the road in an NFC North showdown to open up his NFL career. What is your thoughts on this game? Monday night primetime.
Biggest storyline, obviously. Actually, you get on both sides of it. But I'm going to go from the Vikings angle of it. How is J.J. McCarthy going to look? He looked great in preseason, obviously got injured. We didn't really get a chance to see him. Looked great this preseason. And now you are stepping in to fill the shoes of Sam Darnold, who had a great year last year, an absolute exceptional year, but you're going out there without, Jordan Addison, which is a big deal. So how is he going to look? And you mentioned this on Wednesday's episode, which I think was a great question and something to ask yourself all year. The quarterback play, is that a Kevin O'Connell thing, or is that just a quarterback in general, being good at what he does thing? So something to look out for, for the Vikings there. I want to see what JJ is going to do, especially without Jordan Addison, and how well that offense is going to look. From the Bears side of it, it's the obvious. How is Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson going to look, which is a big thing that I think all of America is looking forward to, because this is, and we kind of talked about it, this almost seems like a make or break type of year for Caleb Williams, where like if he doesn't figure it out with yet another thing of reconstructing of the offensive line, you bring in more weapons, you draft Luther Burden. It seems like they have given everything to Caleb Williams that he has needed and asked for, and he hasn't produced. Can Ben Johnson do it this year? And I think that's the big thing for Chicago. So this is going to be quite a good one. And honestly, I guess I'm probably going to spoil it here. I think the Vikings win tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm very, very skeptical kind of with you on the whole Caleb Williams thing. I don't think he's going to have a very good year. I never really bought into Caleb Williams even coming out of college. But you're right. There's no more excuses. This is it. He's got Ben Johnson, the receiving core, the new look offensive line. Everything the Bears have done is to set up Caleb Williams for success. The only thing now for him is to go out there and prove it. And we'll get a pretty good idea early on, I think, on what the Kevin O'Connell theory is with, right? It's kind of a system quarterback, or if it isn't, where JJ McCarthy really struggles and you see some bad, but Jordan Addison out is rough. I don't think the Vikings will make the playoffs this year. I think we both predicted that in our season predictions, but I do agree. I think this is a game that they can win. I think J.J. McCarthy will be solid. I don't think he's going to be elite. I think you're probably more looking next year for him to take the next step, but I think he'll be okay. I think in this debut, he'll be all right. The very short snippet we got last year in the preseason was a positive. It's a whole year ago, and it was a preseason game, so you kind of see it very unknown, but I like him here, even on the road, to get a win against a divisional opponent. Seattle, San Francisco. Is this a Sam Darnold upset spot at home where they're the home underdogs, take care of business against San Fran?
I do not have him as an underdog, but I can see it. San Fran is so weird for me, because this is a team that has had so much success, especially in the postseason. Well, you can kind of say that. You see where I'm coming from with that. Obviously, no Super Bowl wins, but just getting there, in that moment has been successful. But I don't know. I don't know what to expect from them. I don't think McCaffrey's playing. There's so many question marks around this team tomorrow, and they've lost so many pieces defensively. I won't be surprised if Seattle does somehow pull off the win tomorrow. It won't shock me.
Yeah, San Fran's, and I think they'll make the playoffs, but they're a tough team to read this year. You already have the CMC stuff, which is already striking fear into a lot of fantasy managers' eyes. And this is a big test for Darnold because this is a quarterback who last year, right, had the great season, but struggled down the stretch. Want to see if he can bounce back early in the season against, an NFC West opponent. And early on, these first 2 weeks, they got San Francisco and then they got Pittsburgh. So two teams that are tough matchups, two challenges for Darnold. All right, let's move on. Close things out here. Some player props, over-unders, and then we'll get into our underdog picks. Do you want to begin with the player props?
Yes. So, just going off of one of the games we were just talking about, Justin Jefferson, anytime touchdown is the most bet prop for this Sunday. Over under, do you think Justin Jefferson scores?
Yes, I do. I think as a matter of fact, I could see it being something where J.J. McCarthy goes down and has this surgical, 12-play, 70-yard drive, and everyone just wants to crown him after drive one. I'll go Justin Jefferson. He'll score and he'll have a big game. So, yes.
Yeah, I think I'm on board there. I think important thing for JJ is get Jettis the ball tomorrow. If you got to force 16 targets, especially again, no Jordan Addison, you force 16 targets. I think I'm right on board. Justin Jefferson, anytime touchdown.
All right, I'll throw one out here. Bengals, this is a team, right, who's struggled early in the season. They get the Browns tomorrow. Kind of funny. There's actually a lot of people betting the Browns, a lot of people that I've kind of seen around that like the Browns in this game. I don't, but either way, are you buying into the Browns defense a little bit in the Bengals slow start here? T. Higgins over under 63.5 receiving yards. What are your thoughts?
Ooh. For the sake of my fantasy football team, I took T. Higgins in round 2. Yeah. I'm gonna go over. I think Denzel Ward obviously shadows Jamar Chase. T. Higgins is gonna have a big game. I don't know who the 3 is for Cincy. I think it might still be Yoshi Voss. So I think Higgins and Yoshi Voss have to step up tomorrow. Chase obviously gonna get a lot of attention, a lot of safety help over top. I'm going to go over, and T. Higgins, my fantasy team needs you. So please, over.
I'm right there with you. One of my leagues, I need T. Higgins to produce. So I'm going to go over as well. I think the Bengals blow out Cleveland. I think they have a big game tomorrow. I mean, come on, Joe Flacco, the Browns, everything that everybody said about them all off season. Now all of a sudden we're going to pick them to at least cover against Cincy. I don't see it. So I'm right there with you. What do you got for your next one?
Jaden Daniels over 226.5 passing yards. Now, I'm going under. I think this Giants defense is going to be good. I think this front seven is going to be good. Obviously, Abdul Carter, rookie that they drafted, is going to get a chance to kind of showcase his ability. Commanders are going to win. I don't think Jaden Daniels throws for 227. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think he's under. I'm also just a little down on Jaden Daniels this year. I totally agree with the Giants and their defense. The Jets-Giants joint practice I was at. Their defensive line is just disgusting. Getting an up-close look at it. It's not that they have that one, like they have elite pass rushers, but they have so many of them. And the way that they can just come at you with Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence on the same play and throw Abdul Carter in there, it's disgusting. The biggest thing for the Giants is stopping the run. If they can't stop the run, the pass rush means nothing because it's going to be the third and short, second and short situations where teams are going to elect to, run and not have to drop back and, pick up a big chunk of yards. That's the big question with the Giants. If they can get the Commanders in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and long situations, and they can just kind of pin their ears back, rush Burns, rush Thibodeau, rush Abdul Carter, Dexter Lawrence, all those guys, and get home on obvious passing downs, that's where they're going to have their success. I think the Giants are going to keep that game close tomorrow. I think the Giants all season, to be honest, whether or not the Giants win many games this year, and we really don't think they will. And I don't think they'll win tomorrow, but I could certainly see them. This is not my underdog pick, one of mine, but I could certainly see them covering. They always play Washington pretty tough as well, even when they've been real bad, last year and the years prior. They're going to be a team that's gonna always kind of take the under when it comes to like a passing stat, I think, against this Giants defense and just the pressure that they bring. So I agree there. I think under. All right. I'm going to go Sunday night. Battle between two MVP candidates, battle between your back-to-back MVPs, Lamar 2 years ago, or Lamar 2023, Josh Allen 2024. Here's a passing prop. I'm going to go off of Jaden Daniels here. Over under Lamar Jackson on the road in Buffalo, 233.5 passing yards. Just to give a little bit of some more stats here. The Bills last season in the divisional round against Lamar had 254 passing yards in that game. So he did surpass it. Tomorrow night, though, week 1, what do you expect from a passing perspective from Lamar?
That's tough. Look, Lamar's a tricky one. He's one of those ones where he plays a defense that you think might shut him down as far as passing, and he completely goes and lights it up. But he's going to have a big game for him to win. I think Buffalo's focus is going to kind of be shutting down Derrick Henry. I'm going to go over for Lamar Jackson.
I agree, and I'll say this. I think you're spot on with the stopping the run, because last year in their regular season matchup, they got completely gashed by Derrick Henry. Slowed him down more in the playoff game, which is ultimately what matters. But I agree. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a crazy high scoring game. And usually week 1, the offense is typically behind the defense, but with these two offenses, I think you're going to see a lot of scoring in this one. So I'll go over as well. What's your, I believe this is final one, right?
Final one, for the sake of a lot of fantasy owners, not myself, but we're expecting Tyreek Hill to have a bounce back year after a pretty down year last year. Tyreek Hill's receiving line is at 68.5 against a Colts defense that I don't think is too great in the secondary. 68.5 for Tyreek Hill, over or under.
I'm going to go over. I like the Dolphins tomorrow. I don't like them on the season as a whole, but I do like the Dolphins tomorrow against the Colts. I don't love Tyreek Hill and Tua in this offense as a whole, but Indy tomorrow, I do think Tyreek Hill gets over that. Not by much, but I think he does go over.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there on the over. They need a big year. I mean, we talked about it. I won't go too much back into it, but this team was so weird where a few seasons ago, it was like, Miami seemed like a lock to make the playoffs. You knew they were going to be good. You knew they'd be competitive. This offense scored 70 points in a football game. And now it feels like, and last year, I know injuries and other things played a factor. It seemed like they couldn't even get the ball down the field half the time. So big year for Tua, big year for Tyreek, big year for McDaniel. Tyreek's going to have to do his thing tomorrow for them in order to win. I like Tyreek over as well.
Yeah, I agree. I'm definitely, and I think Miami does win that game as well. All right, my final one here. It is crazy that they did score 70 in an NFL game. We're not talking college here. We're not talking Florida State and who was it today? Eastern Texas A&M?
East Texas A&M.
Yeah. What was it? 77
to 3 or something like that.
That was a nail biter. I'm going to kind of tie in two here. Quarterbacks. Cam Ward debut, over under 204 yards. Caleb Williams, Monday night, over under 218.
Okay. Cam Ward's going under. That Denver Broncos defense is going to – he's going to have his welcome to the NFL moment. I think it's under for Cam Ward. We've talked about the receivers that we don't trust. Not much to say on Cam Ward and what might go down there. For the Bears' sake, I'm going to go over. on Caleb Williams. I know this Vikings defense was very good last year. They actually made life miserable for a lot of quarterbacks. You experienced it firsthand. Um, but I feel like Ben Johnson is going to want to build that confidence of Caleb Williams, kind of get him going. So I think he is going to drop back and throw the ball and maybe 36, 37 times tomorrow, especially if it is a close game. I think it's over for Caleb Williams tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree with the Cam Ward. I think that is a horrible spot for Cam Ward. Not only are you asking him to play Denver's defense, but you're asking him to go on the road week 1, high altitude. Not that means a ton. It does a little bit, but I mean, in that environment, that's brutal. So I think, yeah, he's going to have his welcome to the NFL moment pretty early. Caleb Williams is very interesting because last year in the 2 games against the Vikings, they lost both those games, but the one at home, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then the one on the road, 191 yards, 1 touchdown. So completely went over 300 and under 200. I'll go under 200. I'll say under 200 for both of these quarterbacks. I went over on the other 2 with T. Higgins and Lamar, so I'll go under with these. I feel a lot better though on the Cam Ward one. I don't feel that confident in saying Caleb Williams will go under, but I'll switch it up. I'll say he goes under. All right, let's get to our underdog picks. You want to kick us off?
Yeah. Did you want to read one at a time, or did you want to go all 3 and kind of rumble off from there?
We could go 3. Yeah, that's good.
All 3. All right. One of them you just mentioned. I'm right on board with you. I think they went outright, and it's the Miami Dolphins. I don't trust Daniel Jones. I don't trust the Colts, but it's harder for me to have to trust Tua. But I'm going to in this spot. Give me Dolphins plus 1.5. The other one is another team that I've talked highly on, and that's going to be Panthers plus 3.5. I don't trust Trevor Lawrence. I know all the hype is going to be around Travis Hunter playing both sides of the ball and this, and that. But hey, the Jags have Travis Hunter. The Panthers have Ted McMillan. I like Panthers plus 3.5 tomorrow.
Jags also have Trevor Lawrence.
That too. I have to trust Trevor Lawrence to at least get them past the 50. A good amount of no, we're not doing that. Give me Panthers plus 3.5. And lastly, this one's tough considering the retirement of Amari Cooper, but I'm still going to go Raiders plus 2.5 against the Pats. I do think the Patriots win this game. I think Drake May has a good game, but I think the Raiders and Gino, that experience, Pete Carroll's kind of welcome back to the NFL moment. Obviously, Genty is going to expect to have a big game. I like Raiders plus 2.5 against New England.
All righty. I like those picks. Panthers I thought about taking, but I'm gonna, I guess, be more conservative on that one. Here I go. I'll go Bills plus 1.5. The fact that the Bills are a home underdog week 1 on prime time to me is ridiculous. I know the Ravens, and I know I have said the Ravens are, I think, going to the Super Bowl, and I predicted them to win the Super Bowl. So I'm probably contradicting myself a bit here, but I don't know. I just don't see the Bills losing here. I think they pick up the win. I think it's a high-scoring, shootout, exciting game. Buffalo at home, though, against Baltimore. Last year, Baltimore lost there in the playoffs. I think they have that same experience again here going to Buffalo and lose. I'm just very surprised Bills are the home dogs in this one. So I'll take the Bills plus 1.5, and I think they'll win this game. I kind of gave it away earlier. Give me the Lions plus 1.5 against Green Bay. This is, a matchup we just talked about. I still believe heavily in this Lions team. I still think they're a team that's going to win the North. And maybe it's more so that I also just don't believe in everything that Green Bay has going for them. I think the Lions tomorrow are going to have a statement game. I could actually see this being like a 10-point win from the Lions, 2-score win. I think they're going to have a statement game. A lot of people are doubting them. Everyone's putting all their chips in the Green Bay basket on the road. Everyone's counting them out. Give me Detroit. Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, they get it done to not only cover the 1.5, but also win, which is practically, what you have to do here to get these picks right when it's a 1.5 point spread. This final one, I was contemplating between two games. This has been tough. All day I've been thinking of this. Either I go Raiders plus 2.5 or Dolphins plus 1.5. I'm going to go Dolphins plus 1.5 because I think it's just, yes, the Raiders are better than the Dolphins, but I think the opponent is significantly weaker that Miami is playing. I'm sorry. I'm not going to bet, or no, I'm not betting this, but I'm not going to pick somebody beating Drake May over somebody beating Daniel Jones. That's ultimately what it came down to. And I know both these teams are on the road. The Raiders going on the road to play Mike Vrabel, Drake May, and what we both think is going to be an improved Patriots team versus the Dolphins, who we both agree is going to struggle this year, but play a Colts team that is pretty much dead before the season even start. I don't want to be that guy, but this is a team that, please, Colts fans, watch every single college quarterback you possibly can, because Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson's not it. Daniel Jones definitely isn't it. I'm not buying this nonsense that I've heard that we're going to see a Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield resurgence from Daniel Jones in Indy. That is complete nonsense. So give me the Dolphins plus 1.5 to win. And I think the Dolphins are going to flex a bit in this game. I do. I think they're going to win by a decent amount. And I think that'll probably be one of the only times this year we kind of see this Miami team show some flashes of what they were, 2 years ago and what they've kind of turned into now. But I like them, even though it's on the road, 1.5. So give me Miami there. I'm surprised. I'm very surprised. That just shows you what the markets think of Miami. The fact that they got the Colts as favorites in this game, and they're rolling Daniel Jones out at quarterback. And I know Miami's roster is far from what it used to be, but come on now. I also think last year, and I'm going to look here. Yes, last year I took the Giants plus 1.5 over the Vikings in week 1. So this is payback to Daniel Jones for screwing that pick up for me. So Miami plus 1.5. Those are my picks. All right. Any closing thoughts?
Enjoy the rest of your football Saturday. Enjoy your football Sunday. We will be back next week. Thank you for watching as usual. And good luck for all fantasy owners out there. I can say that.
Yes. I'm feeling good about one of my leagues. The other league, 50-50, literally 50-50% right now. One of my leagues, 74%. I was lucky to go up against Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. So a 5-point combined performance from those two guys was great for me. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, good luck to the fantasy teams. I hope you have better luck than I have and manage your team a lot better than I do, because nobody wants to be like me when it comes to fantasy football. That means you're losing a lot. Jeff Fisher, as I like to say. That's what I am. I'm 21-21 in the last 3 seasons. 7-7 records all over the place. I can't crack 500, and I probably won't this year. So appreciate you all tuning in. We'll be back next week. Week 2, obviously have some takeaways as well from week 1, but enjoy it. Take it in. First Sunday slate of the season. Can't wait. Fired up. Appreciate you all as always, and we'll talk to you next week.